Hello everyone, my name is Carrie, and for those of you who don't know me, I just graduated from the University of Virginia with my Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. I still have not taken the NCLEX yet, but I will be soon, and then I will officially be a registered nurse. Since I just graduated nursing school, I figured I would just make a quick video with a bunch of random tips that I thought of for nursing school in case it could help any one of you guys. Whether you're hoping to go to nursing school someday, you're already in nursing school. These tips are in no particular order, but I'm just gonna kind of rapid fire them. The first thing that I wanted to say is to write down any experiences that you have in clinical or in nursing school in general, but specifically in your clinicals, so that you can remember it and use it in an interview later on. When you apply for a nursing job, at some point they'll ask you different questions about your clinical experiences, or they'll want to know about your strengths and weaknesses, and it is key to use anecdotes from your clinical experience to tell them how you would be a good nurse on their unit. So if you have an experience in clinical at any point, a good learning experience, or a time that you showed leadership or anything of that sort, make sure to write it down and keep track of it. As I was preparing for interviews, I literally made a Google document of just personal anecdotes that I could keep track of. Another tip is to create study guides for every test that you do, and or after every class, just kind of do like a brain dump or like a little list of some kind of the material. Just kind of keep track of each class and the material in it, like a little highlight reel of the information, so that when you study for your NCLEX someday, you can go back and use those study guides that you made. You can use those little highlight reels. Maybe it's a list of things that were your struggle points or things that you were really confident in, whatever it may be. Those can come in so handy when you study for the NCLEX someday. Personally, I'm a visual person, so when it came to my pharmacology class, I would make these like visual mind map study guide things with little doodles and stuff on my iPad. It had mnemonics and stuff like that, and so as I've been preparing for the NCLEX, I can go back and look at that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so much better than starting from scratch when it came to reviewing old material or old lectures and classes. Seriously, it will come in so handy. Also, just in general, if there's any like big concepts that keep coming up again and again throughout your nursing classes, maybe just jot those down somewhere too on like a master document. Things like the antidote to warfarin is vitamin K, or like digoxin toxicity. Those are things that I just feel like have come up so many times in nursing school, and just having like a little master document of like, remember this, remember that, remember this. Next is probably my biggest tip for all of nursing school, and it is to get over being shy when you go into a patient's room. I know that especially when you first start your clinicals, it can be a little, you know, intimidating to go into a patient's room. It's like a real person. You're not working on mannequins, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm a little baby nursing student. I don't know what to do. What if they ask me questions, or how do I even like, you know, talk to them while I'm trying to do my head to toe assessment? Trust me, the quicker you can get over that like awkward shyness, the better. And definitely give yourself some grace, because again, it can be intimidating, but as soon as you can kind of get over that, the quicker you can really capitalize on your learning. Something that I liked to remind myself as I was going throughout nursing school, if I was ever kind of like, oh my gosh, I feel a little nervous, is that the patient doesn't know how far along in nursing school you are. If this is your very first clinical and you're going in there to take vitals, they don't know if you've just started nursing school or if you're about to graduate nursing school. So just have confidence in what you're doing, and if you're a little nervous or you fumble a little bit, don't stress, because you're learning. It's okay. And if there's any time to make mistakes, it's when you're in nursing school and you have a nurse that's guiding you around and teaching you. But yeah, when I was in my last semester of nursing school, I just was like, wow, I literally look the exact same in my nursing school scrubs as I did when I was in my very first clinical. Those patients would have had no idea if I was in my second year or my fourth year. And at the end of the day, your patients are people too. They should not be someone you are afraid of. They are in an unknown environment in the hospital, and it's an opportunity for us to make them feel more comfortable. So if you can assist them in that in any way, that's fantastic. I also had a nurse that I shadowed one time in my pediatric clinical, and she had to give a medication through a device that she had never used before. And when she had said that she had never done it before, I was like, oh my gosh, well, what are we gonna do? That's scary. But she was like, we'll go figure it out. And she was just super honest and confident. We walked into the patient's room and she said to the parents, like, yeah, we're using this thing. Never done it before, but we're gonna figure it out together. And it was actually really straightforward. It's just that it was something new. And so I just really admired her openness with the patient and the family, instead of just kind of going in there and like awkwardly trying to like figure it out in silence and then have the patient like look at you and be like, what are you doing? But seeing the way that she handled that was so powerful to me, because I was like, wow, she really just owned it. She didn't have that pressure on herself of, oh my gosh, I have to know everything, because at the end of the day, everything is a learning experience. And even if you've been a nurse for 20 years, you're still gonna be learning stuff. So just being open to that, everything's a learning experience. Be confident in what you know, and be confident in seeking answers and asking questions. And at the end of the day, nursing school is the best time to learn. And a similar tip with using everything as a learning experience, make sure to seek out learning experiences as well. When you're in your clinicals, it's so easy to just follow your nurse around, especially if you're tired, you know, you just had an exam, you stayed up all night studying, you have so many classes and multiple clinicals each week. So then when you're in clinical, it can just be easy to be like, okay, I'm just gonna like watch my nurse. But again, nursing school, this is the time to really capitalize off of these learning opportunities. If you see your nurse doing something that you could use some more practice with, be like, hey, can I do that? Can you watch me do this? Even if it's something really straightforward and easy or something you know well, getting the hands-on experience, that repetition, really helps solidify your learning. So ask to do things, try to stay involved, because clinical, seriously, you learn so much, and it's really what you make of it. And speaking of hands-on experiences, another tip I have is to work as a CNA or a tech. Obviously, if you don't have time or you're not able to, that's okay. But I worked as a patient care technician for a year, and I also worked as a transport EMT, like at the very beginning of nursing school, before my clinicals even started. But just in general, having some patient care experience on top of your nursing school clinicals, that was so helpful. I truly feel like I learned so much as a tech, even though the scope of practice is different for a tech versus, you know, a nursing student slash nurse. It still was just so helpful to get more exposure to the healthcare setting. And it also just helped me kind of get in more of a rhythm when it came to interacting with patients and just my flow in navigating my care. I feel like having my experience as a tech just made me feel all the more confident in my nursing school clinicals. And also it was just a little nice to make some money working as a tech, because obviously you're not paid for clinicals. So it was just nice to be in the hospital and to actually get paid for it. Also, something I had written down was to not like belittle yourself for being a student. So don't just say like, oh, I'm just a student. Own your role. Be confident. Honestly, confidence, like it really, I know we've already talked about this, but it really does so much. If you go into a patient room and you're confident, they're much more likely going to be open to receiving care from you than if you were to walk in and be like, I don't know what to do, and really nervous. It's okay to be like, yeah, I'm a student nurse. I'm figuring this out. I'm learning. But be like confident in that. Be excited in that. There is so much power in being a student. Not just a student, but a student nurse. You are training to be a nurse, which has been the most trusted profession for literally years and years, with the exception of like 1 year where I think it was like firefighters or something. Just because you're a student doesn't mean you're not trustworthy. And you also know a lot more than you think you do. And even with things that you don't know, you're learning. And it's great to use them as learning experiences so that you can just better equip yourself when you do actually become a nurse. Obviously, I can tell you guys stuff like, you know, don't cram for your exams, pay attention in class, but actually pay attention in class. Kind of like that tip of pay attention in clinicals and make the most of your learning and really just ask for learning opportunities even when you're really tired. On that same note, it can be really easy to just be like, okay, I'm so tired, I'm just gonna zone out during class. There definitely were lots of times that I did that, because sometimes there's just a lot going on outside of class, and so you're just like in class and it's just a lecture and it's just really easy to be like, I'm not gonna pay attention and I'll just review this later in my own time. As tempting as that is, paying attention in class, it makes your life so much easier in the long run, because the more you pay attention in class, the quicker you begin to learn it. And then when you go to actually study for the exam, you're just reviewing what you've already been learning in class. Whereas if you didn't pay attention in class, then you could be going to review the material and it's actually the first time you're seeing the material, and then you're all of a sudden cramming. So as tempting as it is to sometimes not pay attention in class, just remind yourself it makes your life easier in the long run to learn it now, or at least start learning it now, so that when the exam rolls around, it saves time because you're not like learning it from the start. On the topic of exams, find some study buddies or even just people to ask questions to throughout nursing school. I was texting my nursing school friends all the time being like, oh my gosh, how is it going with studying for this exam? How are we feeling? Kind of just getting feelers, making sure you're in the right spot, struggling through it together. It's nice to just, you know, have a friend that's got your back. Also, when it comes to studying, one of my favorite ways to study for exams and stuff was to watch YouTube videos. If you ask any nursing student, they could probably tell you like the best 3 YouTube channels to watch. Simple Nursing, Registered Nurse RN, and Level Up RN. They are all so wonderful and such great tools when it comes to studying. I'm a visual learner, so just watching a video and hearing it is just a lot more beneficial for me. Going over PowerPoints was helpful for me. I loved using an iPad for my notes because then I could just download the PowerPoint and write notes as I followed along during the lecture, and then reviewing those PowerPoints with the visuals, that was so helpful for me. I already mentioned making study guides. Also, just a general tip in nursing school is to just stay organized. Keep track of your lectures and your notes, make some folders, use a calendar or a planner. There are a lot of different things in nursing school to keep track of, so it just makes your life a million times easier to keep track of when your clinicals are, when your classes are, when your homework assignments are due, especially when you have back-to-back clinicals with pre-work and post-work for each of them, and then you also have an exam coming up, so just make sure you keep track of those things as best as possible. Another tip I have is to take care of your health. As nurses, nurses, we take care of other people's health, but that does not mean you should be neglecting your own health. It is so important to take care of your health in general, but especially when you're going through a stressful schooling like nursing school. Make sure you're eating healthy, you're drinking water, especially during clinicals, because it's difficult to make sure you're drinking water when you're in the hospital for 8 or 12 hours at a time. So drink your water, make sure you're getting physical activity in, find time outside of your classes and clinicals to work out. You can also journal, that takes care of your mental health. You guys know I love journaling. Getting adequate sleep as much as you can. At the start of nursing school, I was more prone to staying up and not getting a lot of sleep, but now towards the end of nursing school, I was like, I cannot function if I don't get my sleep. Especially because by the end of nursing school, we were doing 3 12-hour shifts a week, whereas when we first started, we had like 1 5-hour clinical. And if I don't get good sleep before a 12-hour shift, that is not fun. Make sure you're getting your sleep in, and just in general, make sure you're taking care of yourself. You're doing a lot, and self-care is how you fuel yourself. Move your body, work out, eat good, drink water, get sleep, journal, all that good stuff. Also, just because nursing school can get hard, that does not mean you should give up. It is totally normal to feel overwhelmed at times, especially when you have like a huge exam coming up, and honestly, nursing school gives you so much busy work. So when you're just feeling overwhelmed by it all, just remember it is normal to feel overwhelmed, but it will come to an end. And I can't speak for being an actual nurse since I haven't started working as a nurse yet, but every single nurse that I've talked to have all said that it gets way better after nursing school. Also, while you're in nursing school, if you're like, wow, I still have so much to learn, and if you're like approaching the end of nursing school and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna be a nurse in a year or a semester or whatever, remember that you also get trained to be a nurse when you start working. You're not just gonna be thrown onto a unit where you're completely on your own. You're gonna be oriented into whatever job that you have. So definitely hold yourself to standards of, you know, I'm gonna be a nurse soon, I need to know my stuff, but also it is unrealistic to just show up on a unit and know everything, because even if you've been a nurse for years and years, every hospital and every unit is gonna be different. And again, you're gonna be oriented into the job that you get, and they're going to teach you how to be a nurse on that unit with the protocols and policies of the place that you're working at. Oh, another tip that I have is to get to know your professors and your clinical instructors. Networking is huge in general with everything in life, but it is just so nice to know your professors and your clinical instructors, because when you're nice to them, they're nice to you, and then it's just so much nicer, and you feel so much more supported in your learning because you feel like you actually know the person that's teaching you. And then also when it comes to applying to jobs later on, you have someone who could write you a letter of recommendation. This is super unheard of, but one of the hospitals that I was looking to apply to on their website said that over the course of the application, they might request up to 5 letters of recommendation. What in the world? And don't panic, because most places are not like that. I've never seen any place that's like that other than that place. And everyone else that I told that to, they were like, what? But praise the Lord that I had 5 people that I could go to for a letter of recommendation. And I was just like, wow, if I didn't have good relationships with my professors and my clinical instructors, I don't know what I would have done. If this video was helpful for you, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys.